Hey, Yagaho guys, it is finale week in the GBA, week 14, and for 8 teams, including these two, their season will be coming to an end with this week's game. So, last time we played Kyle was week 4, both of us came in at 0-3, and one of us had to win, which thankfully that was me, picking up the first win of the season, first win of the GBA career. And since then, we've had some moderate success. We're coming in at 5-8. And Kyle's coming in 2-11, another rough year, trying to get back to his win total from last year of 3. Definitely made some roster moves along the way. We got 3 different Pokemon actually on the roster as compared to last time, including that big trade with Toronto. But let's get into what actually the teams are going to be. Alright, so the number one thing I was scared about that he picked up since last time was Lucario. That thing pulls a Swords Dance, and it's got Close Combat and Stone Edge. That's going to have Chansey and Zapdos pretty well, so I'm going to have to bring offensive things to deal with it. Thankfully, I don't have to deal with it because he did not bring it. So we have Donphan, Venusaur, Latios, Cofagrigus, Ninetales, and Mega Houndoom. The other thing I was concerned about offensively was the Florges, because I like to spread status around. It can aromatherapy, it can throw wishes everywhere. Look back to week 12 for how I feel about that. So I want something that can lock that in there and take it out just guaranteed. And it's going to be kind of like we did against Cresselia against the Sawsbucks. It's going to be Toxic Style Gothitelle, Toxic and Taunt, so all it can really do is hopefully just Moonblast and then rest in leftovers to just have more longevity. And just max special bulk to take the hits adequately well. So hopefully we can just get that locked. Of course, that didn't get brought either. For the fourth move, though, because I was only going to have Toxic for an offensive option, that meant that Lucario was going to be able to come in and pull Swords Dances, so I decided to throw Reflect on there as the fourth move. That way, if I set up Reflect to see Swords Dances, and then get out to Zapdos and he Swords Dances again, at least it's only a 1.5 times hit, I guess. That also allows me to, if he didn't bring Florges, which he did not, potentially do the same thing with Toxic Stalling on Donphan. If we can get that out of the way, and then we can safely set up some other hazards and whatnot as he loses the capacity to Rapid Spin. Last time we tried to split Gothitelle's focus, which was against Shady, it did not work out very well. So hopefully we'll just Reflect. And honestly, when I saw no Florges, I was like, okay, Gothitelle, you're, whatever. You can maybe get somebody toxic. I'm not going to count on you too much. So moving on from there anyway, we have Life Orb Whimsicott, outspeeds Latios, and I can pretty much one-shot it with South Rock with Moonblast. And Giga Drain's actually not very good against pretty much anything on his team, and the one thing Giga Drain is effective against, it has Ice Shard. So we also have Psychic, because of course Venusaur is going to wall it pretty well. I thought about Hurricane, but he's a Sun team, and Hurricane's going to have 50% accuracy if Sun's up. That's just going to be kind of gross. It would hit Volcarona super effectively, but eh. And then we have that Hail Mary Grass Whistle that I've brought a couple weeks, and I don't think I've ever gotten to use it, but it's there again. As for wall duties, we have our good old Chansey, a couple speed EVs this time to outspeed the Donphan, which is the same base speed, of course. Although I'm going to be very wary of leaving Chansey in on Donphan this game, because I'm pretty sure he's going to learn from his mistake last time and bring Knockoff. So it's going to be something I'm going to try to avoid happening. Chansey should be pretty much good to wall almost everything except the Donphan, if it can avoid being knocked off. And complementing that, of course, we have our first round pick Zapdos is going to come in again. Of course, bold with Roost, pretty much max defense. Running HP Ice, so we because we're also going to be running Volt Switch and T-Bolt, and so that way if Donphan wants to come in and absorb Volt Switch, it's going to have to eat HP Ice. Volt Switches so we can, try to keep that switch momentum. At some point I would like to try to get an edge in the Hazard War, and that's, of course, Volt Switch going to be something to help that out. And then just T-Bolt over Discharge, because it's only 10 base power more than Volt Switch if we run Discharge. Not really liking that. So moving into the more offensive options, we have Hitmontop, which is mostly there because of the threat of Lucario. If it pulls some Swords Dances, we could be done, but if it's got Life Orb, which is entirely possible for an offensive one, I'm pretty sure a Mach Punch after one Life Orb hit should take it out, at least with Stealth Rock damage. Just coming in with Technician, of course. And we're going to be running Lumberry, because a couple of different setups we can have here. So for example, Cofagrigus Will-O-Wisping, we can then thief its leftovers. I think there was another thing potentially too. Oh, Venusaur. We're also running Aerial Ace for Venusaur, so that should do some considerable damage. If it wants to come in and try to put me to sleep, we can eat Lum. and go from there. And then for the fourth move, you know, the conservative player in me wanted to run Rapid Spin. And this actually I changed at the very last minute before the battle started. But I decided to go with Bulk Up. Reason being that I figured a bulked up Thief, let's say you know, he wants to bring in the Cofagrigus into Hitmontop, I can bulk up on it, and then you know, I can Thief. He'll burn me, and Lum will activate. And then I can hopefully Thief him again for a KO on the next turn. I think I actually, however, did not factor Mummy into that equation. It might have still KO'd anyway, because I think it was doing 60-70% or something like that. That way I would, you know, steal his leftovers and Lum would take care of the burn. So there was that, and there was also, if I had Bulk Up, then I think with Stealth Rock it would possibly one-shot Venusaur, and we would be able to cancel out the Sleep Powder with Lum. So I like those two options. I figured those were, you know, at least he was probably going to bring at least one of those, and his only option for Stealth Rock is Donphan, so you know, it's likely that he'll bring it, yes, and I hate to not bring Spin, but ultimately I decided, you know, it's also the last week of the year, let's, you know, I brought Spin on Hitmontop plenty, let's bring Bulk Up, and maybe we'll try to make something cool happen. Anyway, and as for the last guy, it's going to be, it's kind of been our workhorse this season, Scarf Cloyster. A little bit different this week, though. You know, in week 12 against Danza, I mentioned that he speed ties base 115 if he's adamant. And guess what Mega Houndoom is? It's base 115. So I decided, at first I was going to run adamant already, because it looked like Jolly was going to have a 25% chance to one-shot with Rock Blast, which I was going to assume, of course, Sun's up. So Rock Blast is going to be the way to go. And so I said, well, actually 50% chance winning the speed tie is going to be better. But then I remembered, you know, I'm probably going to have Rocks up. It's going to have Solar Power. It's going to be low enough HP that even a Jolly one should be able to take it out. So that way we have a guaranteed outspeeding Mega Houndoom, as well as Crobat, which he didn't even bring, but does outspeed base 130 as well. So Jolly Cloyster this week, just kind of your standard 3 moves: Icicle Spear, Rock Blast. I think I did throw Razor Shell on there, albeit there's nothing that I really want to Razor Shell. It was probably there just for Lucario, since he resists Ice and Rock. And then I also threw Spikes on there for a 4th move, just in case we have a chance to, you know, get an edge in the Hazard War that way. And yeah, it's going to be the team, so let's go ahead and get into the battle. Alright, so I want to put out some offensive pressure right out of the gate, and also maybe depending on the matchup, have the chance to set up some early game spikes. So it looks like Cloyster's going to be my choice for a lead, and he's going to drop in Donphan. So if I was adamant, depending on his spread, I might actually have a chance to take him out with Icicle Spear, of course breaking through Sturdy, but we're definitely not going to take that chance just yet. Not quite sure what he wants to do, but you know, I'm not going to set up spikes against something that could very easily Rapid Spin, so I'm just going to go ahead and get out of here. And you know, I saw no Florges, so that means Gothitelle is largely expendable. If she can land a Toxic on this thing, that would be fine. If she can actually stall the thing out, that would be great. So I'm hoping to take maybe, I don't know, Earthquake, or maybe get it in on Stealth Rock, something like that. And instead he just goes straight for knockoff right out of the gates. And of course, Gothitelle being weak to knockoff, that does a considerable amount of damage. In fact, it knocks me down to 51. So here I'm trying to make a decision on, do I want to set up Reflect and then try to go for the long term, like Gothitelle stall this thing out, or do I want to just go ahead and try to throw the Toxic on there and go from there? Because if it's Toxic, then I'm pretty sure Zapdos can take it on just fine. I severely doubt it's got Stone Edge. I just don't feel like he's going to have enough room on his moveset to run Stone Edge with the other moves I feel like he's going to be running. So in the end, it looks like even with Reflect, I've only got maybe a 50% chance to live in Earthquake, so I'm just going to go ahead and sling the Toxic right now. It's just not going to be worth it. He can also crit or just damage variation and just kill me. So I can also tell from the damage that it did earlier that it looked like it was a very close anyway to a max attack Donphan, so there is that. So we get Toxic on there, and that's honestly pretty fine. Anytime that thing wants to come in and stop a Volt Switch or, you know, something like that, it's going to take some additional damage from Toxic. So I'm cool by that, and I'm also going to be pretty cool, I think, right here to drop in Zapdos. Well, I could drop in Zapdos, or I could drop in Whimsicott. Now that it has its Sturdy broken by the Toxic, we could certainly just go for Giga Drain and threaten that out. And thinking about it, it's going to be between Zapdos and Whimsicott. Ultimately, decided to go into Whimsicott. And I would like to, of course, Giga Drain, but everything else on his team is, you know, going to take Giga Drain just fine. Not only that, of course, we are Life Orbs, so we're going to be losing considerable amounts of HP. But anyway, So we hit Venusaur on the switch in, and at least we do get to confirm that it is Black Sludge. And that's too little damage to really make any observations of whether it's defensive or not. But Sludge Bomb is incoming, of course. And I'm just going to go right into Medi. There's a risk this thing could carry knockoff. I know Dan's Mega Venusaur has commonly carried knockoff, but I don't know how much Kyle has run knockoff on his regular Venusaur. So, of course, we take that pretty well, and then we're just going to try to get Stealth Rock up here. But he is going to Sleep Powder. Not the biggest deal in the world, of course, as we do have Natural Cure. In fact, I was almost hoping that Sludge Bomb poisoned just so that I'd be immune from Sleep Powder and could get Stealth Rock up. But anyway, so I'm asleep here, and of course, we burned one turn on the turn we got put to sleep, and I don't really know if I want to switch in anything else, so I'm just going to go ahead and stay in one turn to see what he wants to switch in, and maybe try to wake up normally and set up Stealth Rock, which doesn't happen, of course, and sends in this thing. So I actually did not do too much research into what it could do. I just kind of assumed, oh, it does this and this. I didn't give it a full in-depth look like I would have, of course, had this been a mid-season game where playoff hopes are on the line. But I'm still, of course, relatively aware of what Cofagrigus does. Just not everything that it could do in the context of the GBA running, crazy stuff. So, but there's knockoff, and that is something I was aware it could do, and that's one of the main reasons I got out to the guy that probably is most okay taking knockoff on the team. Seems like Zapdos and Suicune have been the two go-to guys, because they can take it, and Zapdos has Roost. So, losing lefties, could have gone out to Hitmontop, but he's too high HP. So also Cofagrigus is a little bit lower on the special defensive side, so I'm hoping to hit it with some nice electric attacks there, and looks like that does decent enough damage. I was also a little bit afraid of Calm Mind, and that could have been really bad, as I've got Cloyster, which is going to have to come in on that, but it's not going to KO from full, of course. Cofagrigus has, really nice physical defense. So right here, I feel like I don't know. That probably does not look like a KO for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and Roost right here. I don't want to get down too low and then be unable to bring in Zapdos later on. But he's going to drop in Ninetales right here, and I'm just going to get right back up close to full. And, Ninetales is in, and this seems like I see no reason not to go into Chansey here. We're just going to go in, take a Flamethrower, and take it pretty well. So this seems to be a good occasion as any to throw a Stealth Rock up. It's a little tempting to T-Wave, but he still has Donphan hanging around, so we're not going to T-Wave until Donphan is out of the question. And on top of that, it's poisoned anyway. So we get the rocks up, and I figure, he's probably going to spin at some point, but we're going to just drop into Zapdos. As aforementioned, I really don't think it's going to have Stone Edge, so what's it going to do? It's going to knock off and Earthquake, and I don't really fear either of those because, of course, we already got leftovers knocked off. So he's going to Ice Shard, and I'm going to HP Ice, and he takes that reasonably well, especially with a critical hit. He told me afterwards this was actually an Assault Vest Donphan, so the threat of rocks coming up, which is not there at all. So this turn is an interesting play. I'm at about half right now, and he's going to die to Toxic. So Roost is very tempting to go for, but that's easily predicted, and he could go for Earthquake. Alternately, if I just go for a hit and he goes for Ice Shard, I'll be at 25%. If he Ice Shards and I Roost, I'll be at 75%. If I go for a hit and he doesn't, doesn't Ice Shard, I'll be at 50%. So I figure, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and Roost. I've got a chance, depending on what he picks, of either being at 75 or 25, versus being at 50 or 25. So I went with the potential to be at 75, and instead we're down to 25. Again, pretty much the same result as if I had gone for a hit. And he Ice Sharded, within a couple points. Regardless, Zapdos is at low HP now, and I probably cannot outspeed this thing. And then fortunately I remember, oh yeah, Sun is up, so I'm most definitely not going to be outspeeding this thing, since of course it's most likely going to have Chlorophyll, unless he's for some reason running Overgrow. I think he actually did run Overgrow one week, from what I recall. But anyway, I feel like once again it's really predictable, but once again I think I'm just going to get out into Chansey. I just finished off his only physical attacker, so Chansey looks like it might be alright to go. So we're taking a couple hits. We're still decently up, but I think right here I'm going to opt for T-Wave, as nothing on the team is going to be immune from it. And yeah, so Cofagrigus comes in, which is probably the last thing I would want to actually be T-Waved. It's not going to affect it too much, of course. I might get some para hacks. It's going to be about it. I kind of wish I'd just gone soft-boiled. But I did not. Nonetheless, we're still at decent enough hit points that I can live something, especially something from like Ninetales, and hopefully be able to go ahead and soft-boiled back up to full hit points. So thinking about what to do here, I'm still a little bit afraid of Calm Mind, even though I'm thinking he most likely doesn't have it. He's got what, Knockoff, Shadow Ball, I think it's the only thing we've seen so far. Pain Split is definitely likely. And of course, with Chansey, you know, it's probably more than Cofagrigus' max HP right there, what I got. So I'm going to go ahead and go into Top Man right here. And kind of expecting a Pain Split or something. And just eats a Shadow Ball and eats it relatively well. So I think what I'm going to go ahead and do here first, I calc the Thief, and I don't think it's going to KO. If he's at all invested in Physical Bulk, I don't think it's going to KO. So instead I'm going to go ahead and bulk up. And if he wants to Will-O-Wisp, that'll be great. You know, I'll just get the bulk up, and then I'll kill him off with Thief. And of course, the Lum will take care of the burn. If he misses Will-O-Wisp, that would be even better. Although, if he, you know, would be able to steal his leftovers, of course. And we can go from there. So we are going to bulk up, and he does opt instead to go for Pain Split. And the bar didn't move for a second there, and I thought we had the same exact HP. But it does do a little bit of damage to me. It does get him back a little bit more with leftovers, but with the +1, I think I'm going to be able to take him out with Thief, but I am not. Instead, we do not take him out, but get rid of the Lumberry, heal the burn, and fortunately though, we do lose Technician, which is, I think I may have stated, I kind of did not factor into the 2-hit KO, but of course that's low enough that we should be able to take it out anyway. And here I kind of have a decision to make. Do I go for Aerial Ace or Thief? The reason to not go for Thief would be if he predicts that and goes into Venusaur, makes me take Black Sludge. That's kind of gross. And of course, I'd rather Aerial Ace Venusaur anyway. But of course, if he stays in and just lets this thing die, which seems to be more likely, yep, there I'm predicting Venusaur to come in before I click Thief, and that's what we are going to go with, though. You know, if I take away Venusaur's recovery, that's not necessarily the worst thing anyway. So I'm just going to go Thief, and that is what we do. So we're going to get the knockout there, and we get some nice leftovers, which we get to use immediately on Top Man, doing the shuffle there. Happy to get some leftovers back, and yeah, pretty much did exactly what the bulk up was supposed to do. Take out the Cofagrigus and steal his leftovers. So looking good, looking good. Alright, so Ninetales is back in again, and at this point I'm once again pretty content to just go back into Chansey. He has no physical attackers, and he lost the thing that could potentially Pain Split and bother Chansey. So he lost all, you know, that was his only thing immune from Seismic Toss. Right now we still got 5 guys. Got a Will-O-Wisp, which is of course not gonna bother me too much on the damage output, but it is gonna be residual damage, and of course EV Light, we don't have leftovers. So right here I feel like I would rather just go for, I don't know, he gets a crit Flamethrower, which we get down really low. I decided to go ahead and T-Wave, since anything it's going to switch in is not going to enjoy being T-Waved, and now we're going to get the ability to soft-boiled up. So we'll get back up to a decent amount of hit points, but with Burn, here I got a big decision incoming. If he Fire Blasts, you know, I'm thinking maybe Nasty Plot. If he Nasty Plots, of course, I would rather T-Wave. If he Fire Blasts, I would rather go ahead and soft-boiled and try to stall out turns of Sun and solar power damage. Because if I try to T-Wave as he Fire Blasts, I'll probably die to Burn, and that's going to be not very good. So I'm trying to decide which one I want to do, and ultimately, though, I decided to take the third option and just go into Hitmontop. I feel like it's going to be it's either Hitmontop or Cloyster. You know, it can come in and, you know, on maybe on a Nasty Plot, which is what I'm leaning towards. And you know, that'll be good to go, and Hitmontop will be less effective against most of the stuff he's got left. So instead, though, he goes for Taunt. If I had stayed in and gone for either move, oh, that would have been bad. But fortunately, I decided to take the third option, and instead we have Hitmontop in here, and he is down low enough with Stealth Rock and one bout of Solar Power that I'm pretty sure, of course, we regain Technician from switching out. And Mach Punch gonna be able to pick up the KO as it's weakened. You know, Mega Houndoom does gain quite a bit of physical defense, but that prior damage is gonna be helping out. So in comes Latios, and right now I have a 5-0, and if I can sustain this 5-0, I can actually get my differential back to even. But I'm not gonna go for that. You know, I'm just gonna go ahead and stay in here and sack off Top Man. As it looks like, based on the 3 things he's got left, looks like Scarf Cloyster, which has been our workhorse this season, should be able to come in and mop up the game from here. I could switch into Chansey, But again, it's like 50%. He's probably just going to Psyshock, and that could be a 2-hit KO, and just don't like the looks of that. So Hitmontop picking up 2 KOs on this game. Pretty proud of how he performed. Bulk Up worked out pretty well, and then of course I did exactly what I wanted to do with the Mach Punch on Mega Houndoom. So there you go. From here, he's got a couple of turns of Sun left. I was not being as astute as I should have been during the game and counting Sun turns to confirm if he was Heat Rock or not on the Ninetales. But anyway, we got Scarf Cloyster in here, and it's got an Icicle Spear, and he actually switches into Ninetales, which is going to be the only thing that can actually live an Icicle Spear at this point, and so because of that, it's going to get 2-hit KO'd. And from there, we're going to be able to finish this thing off, and I feel like the only thing he could have done was, let's see, it's tough actually. He could have maybe switched in Ninetales, switched in Latios for Death Fodder, brought Ninetales back in, reset the Sun. Of course, as you see there, Sun ends at the perfect time for me. That would allow Venusaur to outspeed, but we still had some other stuff hanging around, I guess, that could have dealt with it. We probably could have stalled out those Sun turns. And of course, Venusaur goes down to Icicle Spear. It is weak to Icicle Spear, unlike Mega Venusaur. And then we're going to finish off the Latios as well. So Cloyster going on a 3-0 sweep here to close out the game and close out the season. Alright, so good game, Kyle. I guess it's going to be back to the drawing board for both of us going into this next season's draft. This is going to be the last GBA game we get to post this season. I will have something up probably middle of the week, just kind of a season recap. I'm going to go through every game, talk a little bit about each one, and have things like season MVP, maybe even have some team stats, detailed, some cool stuff like that. Something to look forward to anyway. And I guess also we'll probably have we'll have the playoffs set in stone with the seedings and everything. So maybe make some playoff predictions, stuff like that. Yeah, should be fun. So look for that sometime late this week, I guess. So yeah, it's gonna be it. Season 3 gonna be coming up sometime. I think actually like January next year. We're tentatively playing the draft for sometime around December. So of course, that means we're gonna have 2 new teams. It's gonna be a long off season. We're gonna have a lot to discuss as far as policies go. And of course, the big one is we're gonna get new games. We're gonna get Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire coming next month, I believe. And it's gonna be big. We're gonna have new Megas to pick from the Mega Draft, so that hopefully be a little bit less top heavy. We're gonna have hopefully some new move tutors, and I'm even hearing we're gonna have new moves. Like brand new moves, so certainly got to be some sort of a patch on X and Y at this point. That's all stuff to look forward to for Season 3 of the GBA. Make sure you stay tuned for the Utah Jasmine Season 2 recap video coming up sometime this week, and I'll see you guys in that later days.